The future of sport is definitely female, and why I say this is because you see a lot of women that are coming to the fore. They're breaking the glass ceiling and they're doing wonders, and they're doing that which they've been told that they can't do. Today, I get to chat to one of the ladies that have really cemented a place in the business. She calls herself a servant to the sport and a servant for the sport. We get to chat to Nqobile Gama today about exactly who she is, where she comes from, why she does the things that she does, and what sets her soul on fire. Nqobile, very good morning and welcome to Conversations News.
Thank you very much on this very cold morning.
Yep, Joburg is freezing cold.
It is ridiculous, but nonetheless, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
It's only a pleasure. I mean, you know, we live in a very exciting time where we see women in sport doing amazing things. It doesn't matter whether it's soccer, whether it's cricket, whether it's rugby, it's hockey. Women seem to be doing a lot of amazing stuff. We'll get to chat about that in a bit, but I just need to understand who's Nqobile, where you're from, and you know.
Yeah, so Nqobile is a young lady born and bred in Deep Soweto. That's where I've lived all my life. And I'm just, just a very laid-back, chilled, passionate, ambitious young lady who has had the privilege of being exposed to different, opportunities. And I think I've just been able to identify those opportunities through my mentors, through my parents, through my family. And yeah, I've just been able to, just run with it. I'm one of those people that doesn't take much time to think about things. Sometimes I land myself in so much trouble because then I'm trying to juggle so many things. Yeah. But, if a door is just left open just a bit, I'm just going to enter into that door and I'm just going to run with it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so as a little girl growing up in Soweto, Deep what did you want to become?
I actually wanted to become a doctor. I have no, I actually don't know why, but it's still one of those things that I want to become. But I think as I've grown older, I think it's more a doctor in the academia sense of things. So not really
a medical doctor.
Not really a medical doctor. Actually, I never thought I'd end up in sports. Never. I love sports. I played any sports you can think of. But I think if I was going to be in sports, I actually thought I was going to be like a professional athlete. Yeah. Now that I think back to it, it's like, it's crazy, right? But I wanted to become a doctor,
So at what point did the doctor switch go off? Because, I wanted to become a lawyer at some point. And God knows where we are right now.
Yeah.
So when did that switch go off?
I don't remember that exact moment, but I knew that, in high school when I was playing sports, I always knew that every time I played sports, there was just something inside of me, right? I can never explain it till today. And, you get to grade 11, 12, and you start making like career choices. And, I just knew that I was never going to become a professional athlete.
Yeah.
I knew it, so I just thought, I started like investigating and exploring all that stuff. And over 10 years ago, studying sports was not, fashionable. It wasn't a thing. And I don't want to say it wasn't fashionable, but it wasn't like a viable career choice. And I was very good in accounting, those commercial subjects. I was brilliant in those. And my teachers, they were pushing me towards, the commerce side of things. And I told them, I was like, nope, I'm going to go study sports management. And all of them were like, what are you going to become? Like a sports teacher? And, wow. And it was very difficult to try and convince them, and even at the time, I didn't know where I was going to land up, but I just knew that, I needed to be in the space. Yeah. And after a lot of trying to convince my parents, my teachers, my first choice, their first choice for me was to go and study BCom finance. And my second choice was sports management. Okay. So I actually went to university and I studied BCom finance, believe it or not.
So you defaulted to their first option about your life?
I did. And then in the first semester, so I did that in the first semester and I hated it. I remember sitting in a lecture, an accounting lecture, and I was like, what am I doing here? And I found myself for the first time in my academic life, I was failing.
Shit.
Yeah, I was coming to class late, I was sitting in the back row, and I have felt no interest in this thing. And towards the end of the first semester, my marks were terrible. They were horrific. And I was actually almost excluded because that's how bad I was doing.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, whoa, pause. I need to actually introspect first and then come up with like a plan of action of some sort and actually sit my parents down and, you know, just tell them about, you know, that I'm changing completely. I'm changing. It's either I change or I'm going to drop out, you know, and I think I actually appreciate that about my parents. They've been very active in my entire life, very active, you know, so I had to have like a proper plan of action. I'm telling them, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm doing, this is what I do, you know. They're the type of parents that wanted to know, okay, cool, when you make a decision, have you, you know, thought about all the possible, you know, outcomes to this thing? And eventually they agreed. Because they saw that, you know, if they don't support me in this thing, then I'm going to do it anyway.
That was going to be my next question about, so, I mean, so here you are, have always been a great student, right? Then you move from a schooling environment to a higher learning institution, then you start to fail. So clearly that was a cry for help, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So my question was going to be, so how then did your parents support this decision of yours of saying, okay, I know you wanted me to do this thing, but it's not working, I want to do something else. How was the support structure for you?
So I think because I put together a very compelling case, right? I think they then had no other choice but to support me in my decision. And still at that point, we didn't know where sports was going to lead me. But I think they knew that I loved this thing. I loved it so much that they just had no choice but to support me. Right, and I think it was one of those things where we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for them, I don't think it was really too much of a mental shift, because I was the type of child who'd get home and say, please, I want soccer boots, I'm gonna go and play soccer. I want a new tennis racket because I want to go and play tennis, you know. So they knew that I really, really loved sports, and they were just like, okay, cool, let's do this thing and let's see where it leads you.
So you then leave the finance, go into sport. What in sport did you do?
So I studied sports management, so BCom sports management. So that was the compromise that we made, because I then explained to them that it's a BCom at the end of the day. So I'm still going to do those commercial subjects, you know. I'm still going to do the accountings, the economics, the statistics side of things, and one of my majors was business management. Okay. So I did tell them that, look, if things don't work out, I still have business management and industrial psychology as majors. So if things don't work out, then I can default to it. Yes, but I was determined to make it. I was like, no, this thing is going to work. I don't care how, but it's going to work. And I think that's when I actually started understanding, you know, the whole aspect of like sports, you know, because they don't just teach you about the playing aspect of sports, you know, that there is a module to that, but you take like a deep dive into like various aspects of sports, so sociology in sports, psychology in sports, human resources, HR management in sports rather. You know, like there's just a whole lot of things. And I think I found myself, you know, wanting to unpack how sports actually work. And I think that's where I think I knew that I was in the right place.
And Nqobile, with all the bouquet of information that you have around the business of sport, because that's what I call it, it's the business end of sport, right? So do you think in this country, in this continent, and globally, we understand fully what this business of sport is?
I think we definitely do have an understanding, but we don't fully understand it, or we're not fully able to maximize and capitalize on the business of sport. Because at the end of the day, you're very right, it is a business. And I think if we take a step back and we see how, you know, sports has, you know, evolved, I think that's when we'll start to fully understand, you know, the commercial aspects of it. Because you know, sports had moved from like an amateur thing where people just played it for fun, and then people played it for entertainment. And then when we started to, you know, professionalize things and we pay salaries and, you know, players are able to make a living out of it, that's when you start to see that it's a business. That's when sponsors come in, that's where the entertainment or the fan-tainment things come in, and you see how much it is able to contribute to an economy. That's when you start to realize that it's not just an entertainment thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a livelihood, and it's something that can really, you know, take a country to like, you know, greater heights, so to say.
So then you finish higher learning,
Yeah.
then you graduate, and then you start working as a sponsorship manager at one of the 4 biggest banks in the country. So how did the transition come about for you, and were you able to easily fit into this environment and really achieve what you wanted to achieve based on your love and passion for sport?
Yeah, so if maybe I can take a step back.
Okay.
So after I did my undergrad, I did my honors in sports management, and I think that's when we started to specialize in it was a BCom still.
Yeah.
Started to specialize in the commercial aspects of sports, and one of my majors was sports marketing, and I think that's the area that I really gravitated towards. And then after honors, UJ Sport actually gave me my first opportunity, right? And I think looking back now, I think that was the best place for me to start.
Yeah.
Amateur sport is like the best place to like just put your finger in every single pie and learn everything at a so to say amateur development level.
Yeah.
Because essentially every professional athlete and every professional in general started in amateur sports, right? So I took it as a learning curve for me, and I think I was also fortunate because university sports has like a professional aspect to things, right? With the different varsity tournaments and the university tournaments. And I think I took it in my strides, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn as much as I can. Ask the right questions and fail if I have to fail, but leave there knowing as much as I can about sports.
Yeah.
And so I got exposed to the varsity tournaments, and at that level also there's a big sponsorship element to that. You know, I didn't fully understand it, but I always knew that there was different brands there. You know, I just didn't fully understand it, but I knew, you know, and you know, engage with as many people as I could. And then I had a chat with my mentor. So I was in university sports for 3 years.
You okay?
I had a conversation with my mentor. My mentor was like, okay, cool. I feel like you're ready to step out into the big world, so to say. And he was like, okay, where do you see yourself, or where do you want to go? And I said, I want to go into corporate sponsorships.
Okay.
And he was like, okay, cool, fair enough. And then we put together a plan of action. It's like, okay, cool. This is how I see your journey unfolding. And the next move for me was to go into an agency.
Okay.
And I got into an agency, a sports marketing agency, and I was like, okay, cool. Now I want to learn the corporate side of things without having to be in a corporate organization. Got into the agency, and then I started to learn the intricacies of sponsorships.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah. And I think for me that was the most exciting time, because that's when you're also on the ground. You're still on the ground, you know. You're still able to feel the sports, you know. You're still able to see the impact. You're able to interact with the athletes. You're able to, you know, get the full experience of sponsorships in an agency. But ultimately, I wanted to be in corporate sponsorships, right? Because that's where all the decisions are made. That's where the impact, you know, that's where you know that your decision is going to impact a sporting code or a team, essentially, the game, essentially. And then I was in the agency for 10, 11 months. The mandate was very clear. I knew I was going to an agency, right? And I didn't spend much time there because I felt like, okay, cool, I feel like I've learned as much as I can in this space. Let me then go into a corporate environment. And I was fortunate enough also to get that opportunity. And that's how I found myself. Well, I didn't find myself there.
You worked yourself there.
Yes, I worked myself there. You know, and it was a very clear plan. And we were very shocked with my mentor that it actually took a plan that was supposed to unfold in 3 years. Actually took like 12 months to unfold. So.
And what would you say was the driving force, you know, or what was the catalyst, you know, that's where the process, you know, that was supposed to take 36 months to take only 12 months?
You know, a lot of it was internal. A lot of it was knowing that I want to end up in a certain place. But a big part of it was the mentorship element to it. Very, very important. This is someone that was very experienced in the field, not in sports, but in a corporate environment. And as we're putting down the plan, the steps were very, very clear. He wasn't going to get me there. He was just going to say, okay, he helped me draw out that plan. Having the experience, having walked a similar path. Yeah. And so that for me, that was the biggest catalyst to everything.
You've kept on touching on mentorship. I think ever since the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah.
And I wanted to overlook that, but for some reason I just need to come back to it
Yeah.
and really speak about. So how important is mentorship in every aspect of our lives, whether it's in business, whether it's in sport, whether it's in family environments. How important is mentorship?
I think it's extremely important. Just learning from people that have walked the path, a similar path, is very important. Those people are not going to impose their journey on you, but because they've got the experience, they're able to almost mitigate the mistakes they've made. And almost help you get there a bit easier, I suppose. But a lot of it comes from you also. Because they don't get you there. They definitely don't get you there. They guide you there, and everything else is on you. But mentorship is extremely important.
Sure. Okay. So now here you are. What was supposed to be a 3-year plan happened in 12 months. So how ready were you? Because obviously when you start planning, you're thinking, okay, so I've got a year to do this, a year to do that, the 3rd year to do this. So you almost jumped the queue, so from being an infant to a full grown adult in 12 months. So how prepared were you mentally and otherwise, to take on this new challenge that you were faced with that was supposed to happen in 3 years?
I felt ready, but I think once I was in that environment, I realized that I don't feel completely ready, right? Because the end goal was to be in a position where you are impacting sports essentially, and your decision kind of has like a ripple effect. And then I got there and I realized, whoa, this is a different monster, a good monster, but it's a different monster. And I think I'm very fortunate to have a manager who is understanding to the point where he was just like, okay, cool, I see your development areas, we spoke about that, and he was like, okay, take the first year to learn as much as you can about the corporate environment, and also to enhance your sponsorship and your commercial skills. And he suggested that I go into an international sponsorship course, and I think that was also one of the best qualifications that I've ever done, because that qualification is a specialized qualification that touches specifically on sponsorships. And the case studies are international, and internationally they're killing the sponsorship game. They're killing it, and that's when I actually started to feel confident in my daily craft. I'm still learning a lot. Every day is it's a new learning opportunity, but I'm feeling way more confident than when I started. Way more. And and I think I'm definitely in the right space.
So if you were to look into a crystal ball now and really picture yourself in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years max, what does success look like to you?
I'd really like to say, it's more on a professional aspect, but I think success in the next 5 years, it's more on an individual level. I think I've had to grow up very quickly, and that I've obviously jumped a lot of personal development aspects. So I think the next 5 years, I really want to, as much as I still want to push my career, but I think I really want to take a deep dive into who Nqobile is, right? And I have a lot of blind spots that everyone, like everyone else, and I think I really need to to tap into those.
Okay.
Just work on, my leadership skills, work on internal things,
Yeah.
internal things that you really, really overlook. And that's why I think we find people in their 50s, 60s who are in leadership positions, and, there's just something that just does not feel okay,
Because blind spots were never checked.
Blind spots were never checked. So I think if I take the next 5 years to ensure that I work on those skills, I work on the internal, I think that will make me not only a better person but a better leader, and just a better professional in general.
I mean, in my intro link, I spoke about how the future of sport is female, and how we've seen women's sport growing. Especially in this country, I mean, when you look at Banyana, and the amount of players, that have signed contracts abroad. When you look at the cricket ladies, who are also doing amazing work. When you look into netball, and how, and I've mentioned these three sporting codes because none of them have got a professional league in this country. Yet we're able to produce some of the best players who go and play abroad and do amazingly well abroad. And also, get to compete at global stages, and not just add numbers, but do exceptionally well. With all of that in mind, what do you think we need to be doing as people who are in the business of sport, to ensure that, one, we create a culture of excellence, and we create leagues for our women, and we make sure that we give them adequate support and platforms to be able to do what they do best.
Yeah, so I think that's a brilliant question. I think we're definitely headed in the right direction as women's sport. It's very easy to take stock of what we don't have and what is going wrong, but we don't often take stock of what is going right. Right, and that's what we should really celebrate. I think there's merit in being on the back foot. Because we've got a lot of learnings to kind of learn from, and to mitigate and almost jump over those, right? So I think we headed in the right direction. But having said that, there's a lot more that we can do. And I think the more conversations we have about, where we are as women's sports, rather, as women's sport, I think that's when we start to put together like practical solutions, right? And it doesn't just stop at a conversation level. But I think I think I take like a very optimistic view on women's sport. But at this point, I think broadcasters need to come on board. They are showing like a keenness to help, but I think there's more that they can do. Corporates, I think are going to play a very crucial role in taking women's sports to the next level. And it's going to take someone within to make a very bold decision to say, yes, we're in an infant stage, but let's take the time to put in the resources into this thing and grow with it. It's not going to be like a well-established property that is going to make you the returns that you want immediately. It's going to be something that we're going to have to take, and we're going to have to nurture it, and we're going to have to really walk this journey with women's sports. I mean, if you look at what Cecil has done with football, they took it and they were like, okay, let's walk this journey with them. And it's been like, I think it's been like 12 years, and only after 12 years have they been able to then see,
some of their returns.
Some of their returns. So I think it's for women's sports, it's going to be like, it's one of those long-term things, that approaches that we're going to have to take. But I think in the background, women are they doing their work, they're doing their due diligence. They're going to school, they are learning as much as they can learn. And I think in the next 5-10 years, we're definitely going to see like good improvements.
Look, I need to ask a very, and I'll call it an unfair question, and I'll justify why it's an unfair question. That, I mean, I've been privileged enough to work on both ends of the spectrum. So I've worked with male sport and female sport. And I've seen how women athletes are almost like all rounders because they go to school, they've got day jobs, and they still do sport all in one. Whereas the male counterparts wake up in the morning and they go play sport, and that's all that they
And
do.
that's that, yeah.
Right? So with that being said, and I'm not trying to compare people here, but I'm just saying, do you then think, based on the fact that women athletes are almost all rounded, that makes them a complete package than their male counterparts because they've got a qualification to say this is what I do. They wake up in the morning, they go to a job, that pays them a salary, and then they still get to play sport as what started off as a hobby, which is now turned into something that they can earn a living out of. So do you think that makes them well-rounded than their male counterparts without comparing?
Without comparing, So I think that, and that's one of the good things that we should take stock of, And there's two ways of looking at this this picture, right? One could say that it's very unfair that women have to go through so much, to go into school, then go to a job, and then come play sport. Whereas the males obviously are just playing their sports. But I think as women, I think we should look at that as it's an advantage for us.
Okay.
It's an advantage because at the end of the day, we all know that sports is a very short-lived career. And you've got maybe 10 years to make an impact, and then you're out of the system. And after those 10 years, you're not still sitting back and you're like, what am I going to do? What can I do? You already know you've got a plan B and a plan C to fall back on. So I think that's a big advantage. That is a massive advantage. If you look at Amanda Dlamini at the moment, she went through the university system. She got a qualification. She was able to play professionally, and she's a sports broadcaster, or sportscaster rather. And whereas whereas a male who's in the same age group as she is in, he's probably sitting back and he's like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do next? And for her, it's in her path, it's in her career path, So I mean, I think that's another good story to tell, and I think as women, that's the way we should continue to position sports for women, I love the aspect of being a fully rounded individual, and I don't think it's unfair. I think it's something that should be, encouraged. It should be encouraged. I like the whole notion of being a student athlete. I love that. And I love the fact that, you actually have a choice. You have a choice at the end of the day, because if you don't then become a professional athlete, then you know that you've got something to fall back on, But with having said that, it does take its toll on the woman athletes. It does take its toll because when you're supposed to be, focusing fully on being in the game, you're probably thinking, oh, I've got an assignment, oh, I need to do this, and oh, I need to do that. But I think it's a great thing for women, to be honest.
So I made a couple of notes here, which I found very intriguing. So a couple of years ago, G Sport, which is one of the leading women's sport platforms that we have in this country, classified you as South Africa's next sports leader. What are your takes on that? What's your view on it?
Yeah,
do you think it's spot on? Do you think they're on the money?
Yeah, I think they're definitely on the money. Remember this face. I mean, I don't want to get very academic about this, but if you unpack the whole definition of a leader, I think I fit that completely. And I think I've taken the time, and I'm still taking the time, and that's why I say for me success is an individual thing at the moment, because I'm taking the time to learning as much about myself and learning as much about the the industry as much as possible to ensure that in the next few years that I'm ready for, you know, this assignment that lies ahead of me, you know, and I'm a big believer in putting out the right kind of energy and in speaking things into existence.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe that notion.
Okay, right. So, I mean, you've played every kind of sport that one can think of as a child.
Yeah.
You have gone into varsity and studied, you know, the business of sport. You've been involved in sport, you know, at an agency level, at a corporate level. You've been involved with sports, with women athletes, you know, personally and also professionally. So now that you know all that you know, now that you've seen all that you've seen, what still lies ahead for you as a person?
Yeah, I think the more I know, the more I know that I need to know more.
Okay.
But for me, what lies ahead, I definitely want to get that doctorate.
Okay.
I really want to contribute to the commercial aspect of sports from an academia level.
Okay.
I think I'm a big advocate for education.
Yeah.
You know, so I that's what lies ahead for me. One of the things I definitely want to get an understanding into federations. So that's the one place I haven't been in.
Okay.
So federations. And one specific federation that I want to get into is the NBA.
Okay.
I think the way that the NBA has packaged its whole product, to me, I think it's very intriguing. You know, they've got their own association, they've got the product, they've got the women's product, and then they've got the different channels to this thing. They've got a whole ecosystem that they've created that just feeds into each other. So essentially there's this cycle that's happening, whereas, you know, other sports or other federations, you know, they still have to tap into other ecosystems, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm very intrigued how they've been able to do this thing. Like, this product is amazing.
And is that one of the reasons why then you ended up in Rwanda recently, you know, for NBA Africa? Was that part and parcel of your learning experience or your learning journey?
Yeah, it definitely was. I think one thing that I have taken the time into is, you know, learning as much as I can, right? And I'm not waiting for that handout. I'm not waiting for someone saying, here's the opportunity. I'm using my own resources and my own time and everything. And I'm like, I'm going to go and experience this thing, and I'm going to learn as much as I can. You know, and I was so intrigued that, you know, while the BAL was happening, the NBA was happening also on ESPN, and as you were flicking through the channels, and I think they were just next to each other, the products were very similar. You actually couldn't tell what you were actually watching. So again, for me, that's a very intriguing thing, right? Imagine if there's a CAF and a FIFA tournament happening at the same time, and you're able to flick through it, and it looks exactly the same, you know? And for me, that's the thing that's just playing in the back of my mind. And I think if a WNBA game was playing as well, it would look
probably
like
the same,
the same thing, the same quality, the same branding, you know, the same layout, like the quality. I just was mind blown, you know, and even the experience to this thing. I was mind blown that in COVID times that you're able to put on such a spectacle. You know, the COVID protocols were out of this world, and for me, I was able to come back home and say, but how come another African country is able to, you know, be able to achieve something, but whereas we are not even allowed, you know, spectators, you know, in stadiums.
Yeah.
You know, are we not being proactive enough? And you know what? I fully understand that our numbers are obviously different to Rwanda.
What's happening in Rwanda?
But is it that we're not being proactive enough? Are we just taking the easy way out to this thing and saying our numbers are crazy, it's COVID times,
So stay at home.
so stay at home?
Okay.
You know, and for me, that's like it's a very lost opportunity commercially. You know, it's a very lost opportunity for spectators, because after such a long time of not being in stadiums, are they still going? Is there still going to be appetite for people to go back?
Come back,
you know, or will that appetite be very short-lived? So for me, there's a lot of things going in the back of my mind, and I don't. As much as I'm a lover of sport and I'm a spectator, I don't just go to games and I just don't watch games for the sake of watching it. I'm looking at so many different things, you know. I'm looking at how the LED boards are rotating. I'm looking at, you know, the branding placement. I'm looking at, you know,
so you're coming in there with a third eye and seeing things in
yeah.
a different light.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up, if you were to stand in front of the mirror and see a 13-year-old you, what would you tell yourself?
Dream big. Dream big.
Okay.
Anything is possible, you know. Don't let them tell you that you can't do something. You know, don't let them tell you that you don't know anything. Don't let them tell you that this is a space for a certain person. You know, I think just dream big, believe in yourself. I mean, it's difficult as a 13-year-old because you're still trying to discover yourself, you're still learning about yourself, but also don't be too hard on yourself, you know. As much as, you know, life is serious, but don't take it so seriously, you know. And, you know, have fun, be young, learn, fail, fall, get up, and continue.
Nqobile, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a lot from you. I found my new balance.
Right on cue.
So may you start continuing to shine. May you live out your name. You know, may you continue to conquer whatever challenge that you face with. May you continue to conquer whatever dream that you have. And I wish you nothing but the best. The future of sport is definitely in the right hands. Women's sport is in the right direction with people like in the forefront of it, and I wish you nothing but the best of success, and may you keep shining.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, this was Conversation with Nusi, and I guess what it was Nqobile Gama, one of the most amazing and inspirational women that we have in this country. Definitely the sport, the future of women's sport is in the right hands. Let's do it again next week. It's Conversation with Nusi on YouTube and Spotify. It's Nusi Gazi. Keep shining.